Welcome to Rural Farm Tales. If you enjoy rural stories, like and subscribe for more, and tell us in the comments what time it is and where you're watching from. Now, my dear friend Peterson will help us come to today's story.
Jake Morrison was 19 years old, sitting in a rusted 1998 Ford Ranger with his 16-year-old sister Emma beside him when he realized they had absolutely nothing left to lose. $214? That's what stood between them and complete destruction. Their stepfather had kicked them out 3 days ago, drunk and screaming that they were worthless freeloaders who'd never amount to anything. No warning, no mercy, just get out and don't come back. Emma had cried for the first 2 days. Now she just stared out the window with empty eyes, and that terrified Jake more than anything. They had no plan, no destination, no family who would take them in. Emma was supposed to start her junior year of high school in 3 weeks. Jake had barely graduated himself. Neither had jobs lined up. They'd been driving through rural Minnesota farm country for hours, burning precious gas money, just trying to think of something, anything that might save them. And that's when Emma saw it. "Jake, stop the truck. Look at that." He pulled over onto the gravel shoulder, dust kicking up around them. There, in an abandoned farmyard, sat the most pathetic piece of machinery Jake had ever seen. A tractor. Ancient, rusted, sitting on flat tires with paint so faded the original red had turned to sick pink. The whole farm looked like it had been dead for a decade. Barn leaning sideways. House with half the roof caved in. And this tractor just sitting there with a handwritten "for sale" sign stuck to it. $200. "We can't buy a tractor, Emma. We need that money for food." "What if we could make money with it? It doesn't even run." "How do you know?" Jake didn't have an answer for that. He got out of the truck, Emma following close behind. The tractor looked even worse up close. Farmall M, the faded letters said. 1950s era, maybe older. Rust eating through the metal in places. Tires completely shot. But as Jake walked around it, he noticed something. It was all there. Engine intact. Transmission visible through the grime. Steering wheel, seat, everything a tractor should have. Nothing obviously broken off or missing. There was a phone number on the sign. Jake pulled out his dying cell phone and made the call that would change everything. An old man answered on the third ring. "That Farmall still for sale?" "Yep, 200 cash." "Does it run?" "Did when I parked it 10 years ago. Probably needs work now." Jake looked at Emma. She was staring at the tractor like it was the answer to a question they hadn't asked yet. Something in her eyes had changed. That empty look was gone, replaced by something Jake hadn't seen in days. Hope. "We'll take it." 2 hours later, they owned a 1952 Farmall M tractor. The old man threw in a greasy repair manual and a can of starting fluid, shook their hands, and drove away without asking questions. Smart enough to know when people needed not to be asked. Jake and Emma stood in that abandoned farmyard with a tractor that wouldn't start, and exactly $14 left to their names. "This was a terrible idea, wasn't it?" Emma said, sitting on the tractor seat. "Probably, but it's ours. First thing we ever really owned." She was right. Everything else in their lives had been given, borrowed, or taken away. This tractor, this rusted piece of junk, they'd paid for it themselves, even if it was the dumbest purchase 2 homeless kids could make. Jake opened the repair manual and started reading. Turned out starting a Farmall M wasn't rocket science. It was just steps. Specific steps in a specific order. Check fuel. They had fuel, old and probably bad, but it was there. Check spark plugs. Fouled and filthy. Check oil. Thick as tar. Check air filter. Clogged with decades of dirt. He had no tools, no parts, no knowledge. But he had a manual, and he had Emma, and neither of them was ready to give up. They worked until sunset, failing over and over. That night they slept in the truck, sharing a single can of beans Emma heated on a camping stove they'd found in the barn. "What if this doesn't work?" she asked in the darkness. "Then we figure out something else." "Like what?" "I don't know. but we'll figure it out together. Day 2, Jake walked 5 miles into town, spent their last $14 on used spark plugs and oil, walked back. Emma had spent the time scrubbing years of grime off the tractor. It actually looked better. They changed the oil, installed the plugs, cleaned the carburetor with gasoline from the truck. Tried to start it, nothing. Tried again, nothing. Third try, it coughed. Fourth try, it sputtered. Fifth try, the engine caught. The sound was terrible. Rough, loud, smoking like a chimney. But it was running. Emma actually screamed, happy screaming, jumping up and down. They'd brought a dead tractor back to life with no money and no experience. But now what? That question got answered the next morning when a farmer drove by, stopped his truck, and got out. He was weathered, 50-something, the kind of man who could see right through people. That Farmall running? Yes, sir. You kids living here? Temporarily. The farmer studied them. The situation was obvious. 2 teenagers, a beat-up truck, a barely running tractor, sleeping in an abandoned farmyard. He could have reported them, could have told them to move along. Instead, he made them an offer. I got 60 acres of hay needs cutting. My equipment's down. You cut it with that Farmall, I'll pay you $300. Emma's eyes went wide. $300 was more money than they'd ever had at once. We don't have a mower, Jake said. I got a sickle bar mower. Just needs a tractor to pull it. We've never cut hay before. Then you're going to learn today. The farmer's name was Bill Hendricks. He brought the mower over on a trailer, showed them how to attach it to the Farmall, and gave them exactly 3 pieces of advice. Keep the speed steady. Don't turn sharp. Watch for rocks. Then he left them alone with 60 acres of hay and no idea what they were doing. Jake climbed onto the Farmall. Emma climbed on behind him. They figured out the gears through trial and error, stalled the tractor 12 times, broke the sickle bar twice. Emma had to fix it both times because she read the manual faster. By sunset, the field was cut. Not perfect, but done. Bill came back, walked the field, nodded. Not bad for first-timers. Here's your $300. Real money. Cash. They'd earned it with work, with a tractor, with refusing to give up. Then Bill dropped the bomb that changed everything. You kids got a place to stay? We're managing. That abandoned farm's not yours, is it? No, sir. Thought so. Tell you what, I got a bunkhouse, used to house harvest crews. Empty now. You can stay there rent-free if you keep doing work for me. Can't pay regular wages, but I can give you room and work. Rest is up to you. Emma's eyes filled with tears. They had a home, not given, earned. They moved into the bunkhouse that evening. 2 beds, a bathroom, a kitchen, a roof that didn't leak. It was paradise. Bill put them to work immediately, and the work never stopped. Baling hay, fixing fence, moving equipment. Everything a farm needs. They learned fast because they had to. Emma discovered she had a gift for mechanical work, could look at broken equipment and see solutions. Jake learned he could operate anything, tractor, truck, combine, didn't matter. The Farmall became their constant companion. They used it every day, proving they were worth keeping around. Then everything almost ended. Week 3 of living at Bill's place, the Farmall threw a rod. Engine seized up completely. Bill looked at it and shook his head. That's a rebuild. 800 in parts, 40 hours of work. They had $200 saved. Emma started crying again. Jake, we can't fix it. We should sell it for parts and move on. Jake almost agreed. Almost. But something stopped him. Some stubborn refusal to let this tractor beat them. We'll fix it, Bill overheard. Came over that evening. You serious about rebuilding that engine? Yes, sir. Why? You could buy a running tractor for less than the rebuild will cost. Because we started with this one. Because we made it run once. Because giving up teaches us we can give up. Bill studied him for a long moment, then nodded. All right, I'll make you a deal. You work for me on weekends for free. I'll teach you how to rebuild that engine. Parts you'll have to pay for as you can afford them. It took 6 months. 6 months of weekend work, learning engines, learning metalwork, learning precision. Emma learned faster than Jake, could see how parts fit together, could understand the manual's technical language. Jake learned patience, learned that rushing breaks things. When they finally started the rebuilt engine, it ran better than new. Bill watched them celebrate, both covered in grease and grinning. You two learned something more important than engine building. What's that? That you can fix what's broken. That includes yourselves. Jake didn't understand then. He does now. They were broken when they arrived. Not the tractor, them. Kicked out, abandoned, told they weren't worth keeping. Fixing that tractor was fixing themselves, proving they had value. But the universe wasn't done testing them. 2 weeks after the engine rebuild, Emma collapsed in the field. Heat exhaustion. She'd been pushing herself too hard, working 12-hour days and studying until midnight. Bill rushed her to the hospital. Jake sat in the waiting room thinking this was it. They'd finally pushed too far, asked too much of themselves. The doctor came out and gave them news that made Jake's blood run cold. She's severely malnourished. When's the last time you two had a proper meal? Jake couldn't answer. They'd been so focused on saving money, on proving they could make it, that they'd been living on beans and rice for months, spending every dollar on tractor parts and school supplies instead of food. The doctor's words hit like a hammer. You're slowly starving yourselves. Both of you need to eat, properly, or she's going to end up back here. Bill and Linda were in the room when the doctor said it. Linda's face went pale. That's it. You're eating dinner at our house every night. No arguments. We can't, Jake started. Can't what? Accept help? That's pride talking, son, and pride will kill you both. Bill's voice was hard. You've proven you can work. Now prove you can be smart enough to accept what's offered. That night, sitting at Bill and Linda's dinner table, Emma cried into her mashed potatoes. Real food, a full plate, something they hadn't had in months. Jake realized they'd been so obsessed with being independent that they'd been destroying themselves. Linda reached across the table and took Emma's hand. You're not alone anymore. You don't have to be. The next morning, Jake found her envelope on the bunkhouse door. Inside was $500 cash and a note from Bill. This is not charity. This is payment for work you've already done that I underpaid you for. Buy groceries. Take care of yourselves. You can't work if you're dead. Emma looked at the money and then at Jake. We almost killed ourselves trying to prove we didn't need help. Yeah, we did. That's stupid. Yeah, it is. They bought groceries that day. Real groceries. Meat, vegetables, bread, milk. Things they hadn't tasted in so long they'd forgotten what they were like. Emma cooked dinner that night in the bunkhouse kitchen, and they sat together eating like civilized human beings for the first time in 3 months. But even that lesson came with a twist that nearly broke them. Weeks became months. Emma turned 17 in September. Bill and his wife Linda threw her a birthday party. Just the 4 of them, but it was the first party she'd had in years. She cried happy tears. I thought 17 would be homeless and hungry. Instead, I'm here with family. Bill and Linda weren't their parents, but they were family by choice, and that counted for more than blood. Then winter came, and with it, a crisis that threatened everything they'd built. December brought the kind of cold that makes metal brittle and engines refuse to start. Bill's main combine broke down right before a critical harvest window. If they didn't get those last fields harvested in the next 48 hours, they'd lose $30,000 worth of crops to winter weather. Bill looked at the broken combine, then at the Farmall sitting in the barn, then at Jake and Emma. That old tractor can't pull the combine. It's not strong enough. What if we modified it? Emma said. Modified it how? I've been reading about engine modifications. We could increase the horsepower, add a turbo system. It's risky, might blow the whole engine, but it's our only shot, Jake finished. They had 24 hours to modify a 70-year-old tractor to do something it was never designed to do. Bill brought every tool he had. The three of them worked through the night, Emma directing, Jake and Bill executing. They pulled the engine apart, added modifications, welded new brackets, installed a makeshift turbo system built from parts scavenged from junked equipment. At dawn, they fired up the Farmall. The engine roared. Actually roared. Emma had done it. The tractor was producing nearly double its original horsepower. But would it hold together? They hooked it to the combine and headed for the field. The Farmall strained, engine screaming, metal groaning. Jake drove while Emma rode beside him, watching the temperature gauge climb into the danger zone. "It's going to blow," she shouted over the engine noise. "Just a little further." The gauge hit red. Steam started pouring from the engine. Then something miraculous happened. The temperature stabilized. The modifications held. The Farmall pulled that combine through 30 acres of frozen field, saving Bill's harvest. When they shut it down, the engine ticked and pinged, cooling. Bill walked around it 3 times, shaking his head. "You two just did something that shouldn't be possible." Emma was exhausted, covered in grease and frost. "We've been doing that since we bought this thing." That harvest save changed Bill's view of them. They weren't kids anymore. They were partners, real assets to the farm. He started paying them wages after that, real wages, $2,000 a month between them. But success brought new dangers they never expected. The seasons taught them lessons school never could. Spring planting taught them planning. Summer growing taught them patience. Fall harvest taught them urgency. Winter maintenance taught them preparation. These lessons translated to everything. Emma's online schooling required the same patience as waiting for crops to grow. Jake's welding classes required the same preparation as maintaining equipment for spring. By year 2, Jake was making $2,000 a month from welding. Not a fortune, but enough. Emma was acing online classes for 0 GPA, college counselors calling about scholarships. Then came the offer that almost tore them apart. A welding company in Minneapolis offered Jake a job, $60,000 a year, benefits, retirement, everything they'd dreamed about. But it meant leaving the farm, leaving Emma behind while she finished school. Jake sat in the barn with the Farmall, trying to decide. The tractor sat silent, engine cold. He'd rebuilt that engine with his own hands, proved he could fix what was broken. But some things can't be fixed by metalwork and determination. Emma found him there at midnight. "You should take it. I'm not leaving you. Jake, it's $60,000. That's life-changing money. You're my sister. That's life, period." She sat beside him on the tractor. "We bought this thing to make money, to survive. That job is survival on a whole new level. We bought this thing because we chose each other. That hasn't changed." They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Emma spoke. "What if I came with you? You've got 1 more year of school. I can do online classes from Minneapolis just as easy as from here." "What about Bill and Linda? This is home now." "Home isn't a place, Jake. It's us. It's always been us." Bill came into the barn then, Linda beside him. They'd been listening from the doorway. "You're not leaving," Bill said. "Either of you." "Bill, that's a $60,000 job. I'm expanding the farm, buying the Peterson place next door. 300 more acres. I need a partner I can trust. Someone who knows the operation. Someone who's proven themselves." Jake stared at him. "You want me to be your partner?" "I want both of you to be my partners. 20% ownership. We'll draw up the papers. Emma works summers and weekends, full-time after graduation. Jake, you manage equipment and custom work. We build this thing together." Emma's hands were shaking. "You're giving us 20% of the farm." Linda stepped forward. "Your family. This is what family does." The decision was obvious. They turned down the Minneapolis job, became partners in Hendrick's family farm. The Farmall sat in the barn through all of this, witness to their transformation. The stepfather who kicked them out called once, 6 months after they left. Drunk, wanting to know if they'd learned their lesson yet. Jake hung up on him. But the man didn't stop there. 2 months later, he showed up at Bill's farm, stumbling drunk at 9 in the morning, demanding to see his kids. Bill met him at the gate. "Those aren't your kids. You kicked them out. You lost that right. I'm their legal guardian. I can take them any time I want." Jake and Emma heard the commotion from the barn. Emma's face went white. "He's going to take us back." "No, he's not." They walked out to face him. The stepfather looked worse than Jake remembered. Unshaven, unwashed, eyes bloodshot and mean. "Get in the car, both of you. This little game is over." "We're not going anywhere with you," Jake said. "I'll call the cops. You're minors. They'll force you." That's when Bill stepped forward. "Go ahead, call them. I'd love to explain to the sheriff how you kicked 2 kids out with no money and no plan, how they've been supporting themselves for 8 months, how they're thriving here. I'd especially love to discuss how you showed up drunk to claim guardianship." The stepfather's face turned purple with rage. "You can't keep them from me." "I'm not keeping them from you. They're choosing not to go with you. Big difference." Jake took Emma's hand. "We're not the scared kids you threw away. We're workers now. We have a place here. We have value. You taught us we were worthless, but you were wrong." The stepfather stared at them for a long moment, swaying on his feet. Then something in him crumpled. "You'll fail, just like your mother failed. Just like everyone in your family fails." "Maybe," Emma said, her voice steady, "but we'll fail trying. That's more than you ever did." The man left, got in his car, and drove away. They never heard from him again. That confrontation changed something fundamental. They weren't running anymore, weren't hiding. They'd stood their ground and won. But the victory came with unexpected consequences. The next week, Child Protective Services showed up. Someone, probably the stepfather, had filed a complaint. A social worker named Patricia interviewed them separately, inspected the bunkhouse, talked to Bill and Linda, reviewed Emma's school records. Jake sat in the truck afterward, hands shaking. "They're going to split us up, put Emma in foster care." Emma was crying again, that terrible, empty crying. "After everything we've been through." Patricia came out of Bill's house an hour later. She sat in her car for a long time, writing notes. Then she walked over to where Jake and Emma waited. "I'm recommending the court grant Bill and Linda temporary guardianship of Emma until she turns 18. For Jake, I'm recommending emancipated minor status. This is the most functional living situation I've seen in my career. What you've built here is remarkable." Emma collapsed against Jake, sobbing with relief. They weren't being separated. They could stay. Bill came out of the house, wiping his eyes. Turns out he'd been crying too. "We'll make it official next week. Lawyers drawing up the papers." That's when Jake realized something important. They hadn't just found a place to work. They'd found a family that wanted them. Now, 3 years after buying that Farmall, everything has changed. Emma graduates in 2 months. May 2025, she's going to Minnesota State on a full academic scholarship. Agricultural engineering, 4-year program. First person in their family to ever go to college. Jake's launching JM Mobile Welding officially next month. Business cards printed. Website live. Truck lettered. JM stands for Jake Morrison. His last name. Emma's last name. Their shared identity. The stepfather who kicked them out lost his job, lost his house, lost everything to alcohol. Jake doesn't celebrate that, but he recognizes the difference. Different choices lead to different outcomes. The Farmall still sits in Bill's barn. They fired it up last week. Still runs. Still sounds good. Still represents everything they overcame. Emma wants to restore it fully, strip it down, repaint it, rebuild everything to original spec. Make it shine the way it should have when it was new in 1952. Not because it needs it, because the work will be meaningful. One more project they complete together. One more proof that they can take something broken and make it valuable. That's been their whole story. Taking broken things and fixing them. The tractor, their lives, their futures. All of it was broken 3 years ago. All of it works now, not perfectly. They still struggle sometimes, still have hard days, still doubt themselves occasionally. But they know they can, know they will, know they're worth the effort. A $200 tractor purchased with desperation money. Best investment they ever made. Not because of what it was, but because of what it made them become. Workers, learners, survivors, family. 2 kids who refused to stay, kicked out. Who bought a tractor and changed their lives. That's the real story. And if it inspired you, if it made you think about what you're capable of when you refuse to give up, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there, someone else is sitting in a truck with $200 and no hope. And they need to know that broken things can be fixed, including themselves. What would you do with your last $200? Would you take the risk? Drop your answer in the comments below.